Drum roll for Chief Walters.
Receive the applause. That was me. I was emanating. Okay. So Home and Exile. Rose, yet again, wonderful music for this. But this is a theme question that spirals up for me again and again in my life, and for good reason. So I reflect on what it is to be home, what parts of ourselves are exiled. And in the last 2.5 months, I've been away from home more often than usual. So it comes up again, and part of that was when I was in Las Vegas in the beginning of the month for a conference, and on my last night there, went, and ironically, weirdly, paradoxically, right near Caesar's Palace on the Strip in Las Vegas, there's a shrine to Shiva, a Hindu shrine, and there are little steps across from it. So I just went out to kind of have a moment of non-extroversion. It was a very extroverted time, and it's a very extroverted place. And there was a woman sitting next to me, and lo and behold, we entered into conversation, and she shared her story with me. Quite a dramatic story, and she was in the midst of a dark night after a near-death experience. And she found herself homeless in Las Vegas. And so we got talking about what does home mean. So we talked about this whole idea, and I thought, here it comes again. And then when I was reflecting on what wanted to be shared here, home and exile, home and exile, home and exile. So it's not one of those questions or themes that within our 10 or 15 minutes here in this part of the service that we'll deeply reflect on or answer or resolve, but that's why we gather, right? To ask the questions, and in this case to kindle the beacon fires that maybe invite and draw the insights and some of the answers to us over the coming days. So when you think of home, what comes to mind? What words, what sayings, what quotes? Anybody?
Warmth.
Warmth?
Comfort.
Comfort?
Acceptance.
Acceptance?
Serenity.
Say it again.
Serenity.
Serenity?
Family.
Family?
Scary.
Scary, it can be. Absolutely.
It was scary, yeah.
Yeah. It can be. Home is where
The heart.
the heart is. There's no place like
Home.
Exactly. And yet, within each of us, whether it's from spirit, an element, array of spirit that comes into individual incarnation in each of the facets we see around us, feels a homesickness from that unity. And we all embody many, many generations of ancestors, whether one generation ago or 4 generations ago, or 10 or 20, or I should say, who were exiled from their homes, whether by choice or by necessity or by violence and force, who were pulled up from the roots of their connection to their ancestral lands and sent to new homes. So we have that in our very being, that sense of homesickness, the yearning in some way, shape, or form for home. I saw that, like the woman I was talking to in Las Vegas, with a near-death experience or any transformative experience, we don't actually have to leave home. In that case, I actually was away from home, but we don't have to leave home sometimes, literally, to in some way experience something that calls us away from the home of our common perception in that moment, right? It opens us to new vistas. We're away from the home of our previous way of thinking, our previous way of seeing things. So within us, we all have that sense of yearning, yearning for unity with spirit as beings of spirit, having an individual experience. yearning through the voices of our ancestors for that reconnection to the land, to their homelands. So that question, and then we live in a culture where we're constantly being called out of the temple that is the home of our spirit. You know, our energy is out there. We're worrying about something, our energy is out there. We're in the past, our energy is out there. We're distracted, we're out there. We're preoccupied, we're out there. Our energy is dispersed. So what does it mean to be home in the greatest sense of the being, in this moment, and in the temple that is the home for our spirit in this incarnation? How do we call ourselves home? So as I was thinking about this, I always dip back into the well. I have a couple of things. May Sarton, I don't know if any of you have read May Sarton. She's written some wonderful memoirs, Plants Dreaming Deep, and from all of our journeys, I think. So in one of my wanderings, when I was feeling neither here nor there, after leaving the place where I had lived for a very long time and recognizing that I needed now to be where I was, to call myself home where I was, I came across her work. And she writes, I too have known the inward disturbance of exile, the great peril of being at home nowhere, the dispersed center, the dividing love, not here, not there. If home can be anywhere, how are we to look for it? And where do we find it? Jacqueline Carey, who's a wonderful fantasy writer, has one of her characters says, all exiles carry a map within them that points the way homeward. We have homing beacons. That's that yearning we feel, right? That's the beacon fire we're lighting now just by talking and thinking about it. You know, we light that beacon fire that invites home to us, those insights about where is our home. Herman Hesse wrote, every path leads homeward, every step is a birth. Is that the coolest way of thinking? Really think about that, right? Reflect on that. Every step is a birth. I thought that was pretty cool. And then Charles Dickens, home is a name, a word, it's a strong one. Stronger than a magician ever spoke, or spirit ever answered to, and the strongest conjuration, home. John O'Donohue, the great vision priest, poet, says that Anamkara, if we're lucky enough to have an Anamkara, the Gaelic for the soul friend, right, who is a safe harbor, who accepts us exactly as we are. We don't have to change. We come as we are. We can be. We're seen. We're recognized. Maybe we offer that Anamkara safe harbor to other people. That's home, you know, a sanctuary of sorts. And John O'Donohue also sees our bodies as the sacred temple, our own homes for the spirit in this incarnation. And even think about the word, right? Home. Right?
Yeah, Om is in there.
Absolutely. There's the Om in home. So maybe that's it. Om is in home. So right now, we can think about, there are a lot of ways to do work to call our energy back home, to call our fragmented selves back home. That's the basis of a lot of shamanic work, certainly. In the work that I did with the ancestors, and the wisdom teachers, I studied parts of that, calling the ancestral fragments back home, healing the ancestral line, calling the soul fragments back home, gathering our dispersed energy back home. And where is home? Home is exactly where we are in the moment, in this incarnation anyway. You know, it's right here, right now, in this body, in this moment, in that body, in your 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 body, in this room, in this time. So we call our energy back home, we call our consciousness back home, we call our presence back home. And so I'll end with a blessing, but because of this whole home thing, I thought it would be pretty cool. Maybe you as our music person can lead us in this, would you be willing? So to start with home, the Om in home, because by the whole point about Om is it's the sound, the vital sound, or the base, the home vibration of the universe. And if we're homing, it's our homing beacon to draw ourselves back into our own unique vibration in this moment. So if we can home, and then I'll read one line of this beautiful, beautiful prayer that's actually in a hymn book over in FCC. So we start with a home, and then I'll read a line, and then you can home again, home. And this is the way we'll create a vibration that brings us home into this moment, that kindles within our hearts and our hearth, the hearth within our own body temple, the hearth within this own moment, the hearth that becomes our very sanctuary, the hearth that emanates and shines out and becomes sanctuary and beacon of sanctuary for others, right? Because we can't be it if it's not kindled. If our own home, if our own garden is forgotten, if we're out there someplace and there are vacancy signs, on the home of our being, and so anything can come in and colonize it, because we're sort of half out there, neither here nor there. I've been there. I can be there on any particular day, right? We have to consciously call ourselves home and reignite, take a look at what, in our mind's eye, what's the state of the home, my inner garden? Is it weedy? Is it well tended? Is the fire that sits at the center of it, like an old ancient temple fire, still lit? Does it need kindling? We can look at that within the eyes of our imagination, invite our own intuitive awareness about that. Anytime, any day, any moment. Right? Call ourselves home, reignite our beacon. We're more clear, we're more aligned with our intuition, with synchronicity, and we are a much better sanctuary for those who are looking for the sanctuary that we create, that we offer. It's really beautiful. It's a beautiful potential. So home, let's start with a home, and we'll call it, and we'll center it, and we'll wrap ourselves up for this moment in any case on this topic. 1, 2, 3. Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for homing with me.
Any questions?
Any comments or questions? I'd like to say that our inner home and my inner home is always there, no matter what happens. So wherever I might be, that is always there. That is my true home. The inner space beyond this so-called body and anything physical. That's my true home. And that's where I'm totally accepted. And I can just be in peace. And I don't have to do anything really.
Your inner garden. We can get called out in this culture. I mean, if we're honest, maybe some of us more than others, but every email, every text, every website, every time our attention goes out there. So it's just something to be aware of. Yeah.
Yeah, just take a breath.
Yeah,
I take a breath
Exactly. Call yourself back home.
and call myself back home.
Because we can also tell just how home we are by how kind we are, by how much of a sanctuary we offer to our, including to our own exiled self parts, those parts of us that we internalized as inappropriate, not welcome. We become a well-lit in, So, but
Yeah,
you don't
it
have to think about it over much. It's just, being.
Yeah,
Slowly
it can be a
inhabiting.
reflection of how you are really when
it shows where you're at any given moment. And I used to travel a lot, and sometimes I still do. And I remember, being irritated over the silliest things, but then I go to somebody's house and I see 2 stools. They have no place for me but the floor. So I see 2 stools, I put them together, put a pillow on, and my feet dangle over, and I'm as happy as a clam. So that shows, that there are moments of where you're just, hey, it's okay wherever I am, and I'm going to, be in a state of grace. And then other times you see, oh, what's going on with me? Why am I so irritated over a small matter or whatever? And home is wherever you are and whoever you're with.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much like refugees and people who have been displaced, diasporas now, and just like our ancestral times. So to some degree, that's as it is out there is a reflection of the collective internal. So any additional or more conscious work or prayer we do on it might actually help to balance that in the collective, because it wouldn't exist externally if it didn't exist in a pretty good majority of the collective mind. So we can view it even as healing, even if we don't need to for our own individual selves. It can become a healing prayer to help balance that in the greater world.
When I arrived at Copan Monastery, there's this big thing on that they had painted in the walkway, "Welcome Home." And when I returned here, I'm sorry, I'm emotional. When I returned here, my physical home had been shattered. And I have been unable to connect with myself, with anyone, since leaving there. And the words you spoke, it's like it opened the window. And I think that home for me is connecting with something greater than myself. And it includes other people. I can't explain how singularly I'm at home, because I love my own company and I have a tendency maybe to spend too much time with just my company. But being here, and I don't know, maybe because all women, the sisterhood has like a more empathetic presence in the world. I'm not putting down men either. I'm just saying that I've always connected with this, with sisterhood, and for the first time in months, I feel like there's been a connection to home. I really want to thank you. Thank all of you for it. But your words have just maybe pulled the chain that was holding me down. And I had just said to you, one of the last pictures I took at Copan was a bird taking flight. And I was beginning to become afraid that maybe returning to the States, that maybe that was my home. Maybe I'm supposed to be in Nepal. You know, I can tell yourself that the last peaceful place you were is where you're meant to be, and that now you've lost it and you've never been here again. And there's like a grieving, but because you're feeling like an alien or exiled. And thank you so much for bringing me this perfect timing.
Beautiful, so beautifully timed. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Thank you so much.
And welcome home.
Welcome home.
Now, time for our love offering. So if we
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, yeah. All right. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just what I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just what I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. 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 My soul
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, lovely song. So we are at the point of announcements. Do we have announcements, Miss Vera?
We have announcements.
Yes. Do we have announcements to see if this one works? Hello?
We need to talk and think about our Easter potluck because it falls on Easter Sunday. So I don't know how people feel, if they're going to be tied up with family or what.
Hello?
I won't be here.
I won't be here either. I won't be here either. Will anybody be here?
For
Easter?
when? For Easter?
Easter.
When is Easter? What's the date?
Well, it's a
It's
third
third
Sunday.
Sunday.
Oh, third Sunday? Okay.
I might have to work so that my staff can have off. Because I don't mind working, I don't mind working on holidays.
I would rather not have a potluck on Sunday, on Easter Sunday. I don't think I'll be here.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
be here.
Okay,
Hardly
all right.
anybody will be there.
That's all I need. That's
Maybe
all
we
I
should
need
move
to
it.
know.
Maybe move it to the week before?
Well, we'll talk
Yeah,
about
the
it.
the aloe plant is actually blooming, doing something none of us have ever seen.
Is that really aloe?
Yes, I looked on the bottom, it looks like aloe,
Looks like aloe.
and it's coming from out of it, if you look
It's coming
inside.
out of it.
Wow.
And new ones are popping up, there's new buds trying to come up.
Yeah, this one's got a bloom.
Let's like it in here.
So it might be a symbol of new things coming.
Yes.
Miracles are happening, and we can, like the Course will say, anticipate, expect miracles. So this is a symbol for me, and it's nice right before Easter.
Yeah, like the water in the desert that just showed up out in Death Valley.
Yeah.
I saw, yeah, a lake suddenly appeared right in the middle of the desert in Death Valley, which is
Wow.
very unusual. And speaking of being in the right time in the right place, a photographer was there and was able to photograph this. So it's like Isaiah, you know, the water shall flow again and the
And
desert
it
shall bloom.
This was recently,
Yeah,
this
it's
just.
like, yeah, it was in AccuWeather
Wow.
today, yeah.
And it just started to rise, is that?
Yeah,
how-
because of all
couple-
the rains in
A couple weeks
California.
ago, when the melting started, there
So
was
much
so
rain.
much moisture that
Mhm.
that it usually dries up as soon as any rain or anything
Yeah.
hits it, it's gone.
It's desert.
This time it did not.
No, it's amazing. Yeah.
And they have the super bloom or whatever they call it in California.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So the poppies.
That's right, those California
Oh, really? The
poppies.
poppies are more than
Yes.
usual?
Like wildly more than
Yeah.
usual. Yeah.
After the rainy season, that's typical, but this has been a particularly rainy season in places where it doesn't usually rain. So amazing, more blooms.
So now we greet our neighbors. She's taken a couple of tumbles, and at one point she fractured her arm, and most recently she fractured her ankle. So she's in a nursing home, and every time I see her, the beauty of her soul now is coming like greater and greater, despite the dementia. You know, how are you, Aunt Betty? Oh, I'm so good. I'm so thankful. And how are you feeling, Aunt Betty? I am so thankful. I have such good health. Now she has spinal stenosis. She has these injuries. And when I went initially, you know, she was just, you'd think Jesus walked in the room. I mean, it was such a beautiful greeting. I was so touched. And, you know, she had no complaints about anything. And then I used my cell phone to call her sister, who's 88. And her sister on speakerphone said, Betty, how's your arm feeling? I know your arm was hurting you. And all of a sudden, my aunt's face contorted in pain. And it was like the dementia had almost allowed her to forget that she's in a lot of pain, whether it's her back or her arm or her broken, shattered ankle. And all of a sudden, I mean, and it was not put on, it was just, oh, it really hurts. And then we talked a few minutes and it was gone again. And it really made me realize the power of the mind. You know, be it in plaque buildup or whatever dementia is. But, you know, if we choose to change our focus, what can we do for ourselves? You always hear it, you hear the words, but to actually watch my aunt's face go from joy to contorted agony, that was a little bit of a lesson. And in a completely opposite vein, I'm leaving my job at Tabernacle down the street. I've been secretary there for about a year part-time. And they, like so many other congregations, are really struggling. And one day, this protracted unity moment hit me of what about using the church to bring in speakers on subjects like astrology or on Reiki. Apparently, and I don't have this ascertained for sure, but potentially the new pastor is quite familiar, potentially a practitioner of Reiki, and he'll be coming in July 1st, which makes me think he may be open to something. So now this church here is a spiritual nexus, but there's no reason there can't be more than one. Theoretically, everyone should be. And if it opens itself, so I have this, I just emailed this long proposal today about using the church for those sorts of purposes. So I have really high hopes for that, and I'm really excited that there may be more gathering places for similarly minded people who aren't necessarily into the stand-up, sit-down, sing of traditional religion, but who are spiritual seekers. So I'm very, very excited about that. Cool. Anybody else with unity moments?
Yeah. Well, I have my taxes done at the library, the AARP, and I know I just didn't get around to calling and making an appointment. And I called. And I'll bet I was on hold for 15 to 20 minutes. And I was just getting ready to hang up, and the gal answered. And I said, you know, I'd like an appointment. She said, how fortunate you are. I just had a cancellation and it was the only opening I have. And I thought, thank you, Spirit. Yes. So, I don't know what I would have done if I couldn't get an appointment.
That's fantastic.
So, yes.
I would like to just welcome my friend Mary again. She's been with us once before here, and it's always good to have her here. So, welcome,
Oh,
Mary. And I'm a Reiki practitioner.
are you? Good to know. I have so much to learn. I mean, it's kind of selfish on my part, you know. We're just talking about something I'm trying to institute at Tabernacle or somewhere else, who knows. But there's so, I don't even know what I don't know. You know, back in the day when Jim Bryden would talk about flying saucers, I'd kind of be rolling my eyes going, so you're one of those. And now it's like, what don't I know? You know, some of it I'm sure is the lunatic fringe, and others is probably absolutely valid, but not within my experience or my intellect to understand. So I'm all about broadening, and I know so many of my friends are, and so many, you know, I'm 63, so many people in my age group now are like, what's it all about, Alfie? You know, we've got to put it all together somehow. So.
Turn in History Channel on Friday night and you'll find out all about flying saucers.
Yeah.
Ancient aliens.
Oh, yeah, we watched that.
Yeah. Wonderful. All Friday.
I might have to get Time Warner back just for that. I might have to get Time Warner back just for that.
Oh, that might help, yes.
Although it might be on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you can find it anywhere.
Growing up in Triangle, there was flying saucers. One day, it flew over our property and sent the horse right through the fence. They got so scared.
Wow.
But I saw them firsthand, so
Oh my goodness.
I know they're real because I saw them with my own eyes.
Wow. Well, there's so much.
The possibilities are endless.
That's it, exactly. You don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
So, and we have our little box for prayer.
Oh, I don't know if I need this. Okay.
This is daily, what is it, daily word?
Daily word. Assurance is the word of the day. All things are possible through the ageless omnipotence of my sacred self. The Apostle Paul frequently wrote of the pain and suffering he endured in the course of his missionary travels. He described his difficulties not as complaints, but to emphasize his certainty that the ultimate glory of Christ's mind is infinitely greater than mortal limitations. I consider that the sufferings of this present time, he wrote in Romans 8:18, are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us. That same spiritual certainty moves me through my day. My intentions may not be revealed. My body and mind may seem intent on emphasizing obstacles and fears. Still, I move gratefully forward, knowing that nothing can affect the spiritual power that is my true identity. I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory about to be revealed to us. Romans 8:18.
Thank you. Thanks.
Prayer and meditation. Well now. Okay, so I don't have one pre-written or, but let's pray. Thank you so much. Not that we understand everything. Not that we could even hope to understand everything. The one thing we know is we are a part of you, whatever you are. And we want to be a functional part of you. We want to offer our hands and our feet and our mouth and our ears and our eyes in love. We want to represent everything that's good on the earth and with our every breath, in our every daily interaction. Help us to that end. In Jesus' name, amen. And special music, please.
I hear the music, down in my soul, down in my soul. I hear the music, down in my soul, down in my soul. I hear the music, down in my soul, down in my soul. And the whole wide world is my home. I got a new day. I got a new day. Down in my soul. Down in my soul. I got a new day. I got a new day. Down in my soul. Down in my soul.